Hi, I'm Veronica, a teacher of somatic techniques which help you to deal with anxiety and its bodily symptoms. Today I'm going to show you how you could tap into intuition to decide whether you want some soothing or rather stronger stimulation. We're going to begin with orienting, so looking around, just so that you can check whether the place where you are is safe. So this is this message for the nervous system. And let's begin movement by making some gentle moves with the head and neck. It doesn't need to have any specific rhythm or pace. You decide on it, but you want to feel that everything within your neck is moving and that this is pleasant. And whenever you're ready for that, you could start adding next part of the body. That would be your upper shoulders and just the top of your torso. They all can move independently of one another. It's kind of spiraling movement. There's no specific pattern to it. You can do it entirely your own way, but you can have that notion that everything is kind of seaweedy and like really soft. And whenever you're ready, you could start adding next portion. That would be your entire rib cage and that kind of mid back. So now it's the head, the shoulders, and the top of the torso moving together or moving independently from one another, but all in that kind of snaky spiraling motion. And whenever you're ready for that, you could start adding also your lower back to that, but still keeping the lower portion relatively still, focusing on the torso itself. And then you can add the hips, and once you get to the hips, you could also start exploring that connection of the hip and the leg, and you could play with the movement of the toes and the ankle and the knee, and you could check how it's gonna go with that spiraling motion that you start in one leg and what happens when you explore the other leg as well. And you don't forget about moving the rest of the body. Then you could start exploring your arms as well, the finger, wrist, elbow, all the rotations inward, outward. How is it when you have the arm extended? How is it when you have it closer towards you? What happens when you reach on the diagonal? And maybe there is some way to feel that connection between the hand and the opposite leg. And that movement kind of weaves its way from the arm through the spine all the way to the other leg. And check the same on the other side, how that other arm moves, snaky movements, spiraling motions. And then adding to the movement of the arm and the shoulder, also the movement of the spine, the whole torso, the hip, and eventually reaching to that opposite leg. So you're entirely on that diagonal line and just discovering there's nothing specific that you want to do other than simply being curious. And then you could have a walk. And maybe you want to walk in a very specific way, as if you don't really want to make too much noise. You're kind of walking almost on the tiptoes, very lightly, very kind of conscious of every step. And then you can imagine that you're like really like a big giant and you want to make those really big steps that kind of make the whole earth shake. And you're really close to the ground as you make those movements. So each style of stepping is very different. Now, if you want to move it farther, you could walk on those tip-tops, make these light movements in all directions, not necessarily forward. You could also go sideways, but add to that your whole body. And if you want to do the opposite of that and use the whole body, it could be almost as if you're doing some martial art. Those are these quick and very decisive movements with the arms, with the torso, with the legs. And that would be the difference. You could continuously switch between the two and notice where you feel more natural for today, for now. Maybe you need this kind of actions that are very light, and maybe you really want to feel that you're stomping onto the ground, you feel that ground underneath you, and you want to have those stronger sensations. And it's going to be changing every day. You could also see how it is to contract everything around your center and release it. So you could contract everything close to the midline of the body, and then how to be open and really open up everything. You could go between those two and maybe even go back to that curling up and then moving on the diagonal, becoming really open and light. And every time you do that, you will see which one feels kind of more natural. You could also let your arms float and as you rotate around your own axis. And again, depending on how you're feeling, it could be something very slow and gentle, or it could be quite dynamic. Maybe you want to release all that extra energy you have and you need to do something more dynamic. And maybe it's just the other way. You want to treat yourself with this softness and kindness, and you need some more self-soothing movements. So you're the only one who can feel it. And maybe that self-soothing might mean self-touch, gently touching your whole body, your head, face, shoulders, swiping the hands over the torso and down the legs all the way to the feet. So feeling your body, but treating it with gentleness. And then for a moment stand still, and maybe your hands want to land on you, and maybe you just want to have them close towards you. So you could rest one on the belly or on the chest, or maybe both on the chest. It's up to you. So that you still have that contact with your body through the touch. And maybe you want to walk around one more time, and perhaps it feels quite different to move now than before you began. So I hope that you enjoyed that short sequence, that it really brought you some insight. It's perfect for when you work, for a mini break, especially when you feel some tension building up. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe.